as he poured cola all over my lap at his grandmother's birthday. "Happy birthday," he sneered while my relatives burst into laughter. I stood there, drenched, the smell of soda and shame clinging to me. No one stopped him. Not even my brother, his father. He just raised a glass and said, "Kids will be kids." My name is Hannah Miles, I'm 32, and that night I learned family laughter can cut deeper than words. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just excused myself, went to the restroom, cleaned what I could, and left quietly while their laughter echoed behind me. Outside, the air was cold, but it felt cleaner than the room I'd left. That night, as I sat in my car, memories swirled. Every time my brother mocked my smaller apartment, every time Mom told me I should be grateful he invited me anywhere. They thought silence meant weakness. But silence was just my way of gathering power. The next morning, I woke up to an alert on my phone, a headline from the local finance blog. Bank repossesses luxury SUV from businessman Daniel Miles after default notice. Daniel, my brother. He had no idea the woman who arranged the audit worked for me. No idea that while he'd been laughing, I'd been documenting, calculating, waiting. And that was only the beginning. Because by sunset, something else would happen, something that would make every single one of them remember the sound of my name. By evening, the group chat was chaos. Mom sent a long message about how embarrassing it was that Daniel's car got repossessed in front of their neighbors. Daniel blamed a banking error. And my sister-in-law, Jenna, wrote, "Maybe if people didn't hold grudges, karma wouldn't find its way home."
Karma.
The word almost made me laugh. See, 2 months before the birthday disaster, Daniel had asked me to help review his company's books. He'd bragged about his small real estate firm, Miles & Company, and said he needed a second set of eyes before applying for a major loan. I found creative accounting everywhere. Fake invoices, unreported income, unpaid property taxes. When I quietly warned him, he'd smirked. "You always worry too much, Hannah. That's why you'll always work for someone else." So I'd kept copies. Every file, every forged signature. And when his laughter echoed over spilled cola, I'd already known what I'd do. At 9 a.m. the next morning, I'd emailed the documents anonymously to the bank's fraud review team. Not for revenge, for justice. But fate had a taste for timing. The car they towed that morning was the same one he'd parked outside Grandma's party, like a trophy. That evening, Mom called. "Hannah, tell me you didn't have anything to do with this." Her tone was part accusation, part disbelief. "I warned him months ago," I said simply. He ignored me. "You should have let family handle family." I smiled faintly at the hypocrisy. "You mean like when they poured soda on me?" There was silence, then the sound of her breath shaking on the line. For once, she didn't have an answer. But the universe wasn't done yet. Because the next knock on my brother's door would change everything. The next morning, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. "Ms. Miles," a voice said briskly. "This is Officer Whitman with the County Fraud Division. We're looking into some irregularities connected to Miles & Company. Your name appeared in the audit trail as a prior consultant." My stomach tightened. "I helped review their accounts months ago." "Why?" "There's been a formal complaint," he said. "Mr. Miles claims you accessed his company's data unlawfully." I almost laughed. The audacity was breathtaking. My brother, caught red-handed, was trying to make me the scapegoat. I took a breath.
Calm.
Controlled. "Officer, I still have all my written authorization and the email he sent granting access. Would you like me to forward it?" A pause. "That would be helpful." By noon, the police had those emails, complete with Daniel's digital signature. By 4, the bank's fraud team cleared my name completely and opened an internal investigation into his loan history. That night, I sat at my kitchen table, watching rain streak down the window. My phone buzzed again. "Daniel, this time. You think you're smart? You've ruined my life. I'll make you regret it." I typed back one sentence. "You did that yourself." Then I blocked his number. For years, I'd carried the weight of being the quiet one, the overlooked one, the good girl who never fought back. But somewhere between the spilled cola and the police call, that girl had vanished. I was no longer part of their stage show of perfection. And yet, even I didn't see what was coming next. Because the next headline that flashed across my phone, before dawn the following day, made me sit upright in shock. The headline hit like thunder. Local real estate firm accused of tax evasion and fraudulent loan activity. Owner under federal review. Daniel's photo sat right beneath it, arms crossed, that same smug expression he always wore at family dinners, now frozen on every screen in town. I stared for a long time, coffee cooling in my hand. I hadn't planned for this. I'd only sent the documents to stop him from scamming the bank again, not to start an investigation that would expose his entire empire. By noon, my phone lit up again.
Mom.
Hannah, you've gone too far, she shouted before I could speak. Your brother's business is collapsing. You should have kept this private. Private. I repeated, stunned. You mean like how he humiliated me in public? Or how he forged client records? You don't understand, she cried. He has a family. So did Dad when Daniel drained his savings years ago. Did you care then? Silence. That was the first time she didn't defend him. Hours later, I got a message from Jenna, his wife. I hope you're happy. We're losing everything. I almost deleted it, but my hand hesitated. Happy wasn't the word. Relieved, maybe. Or free. That night, I walked through the city, lights reflecting off wet pavement. I passed the restaurant where they'd laughed at me just days ago. The same table still had their names on the reservation list. I stood outside for a moment, breathing in the cool air, before whispering to myself. Maybe now they'll learn what belonging really means. But fate wasn't done teaching lessons. Because before sunrise, my phone pinged with an email from someone I hadn't heard from in years. And the subject line read, "About your mother." The email came from Thomas Avery, my late father's former lawyer. Just seeing his name made my chest tighten. He'd handled Dad's estate years ago when Daniel convinced Mom to simplify the inheritance. I opened it slowly. Hannah, your father's file resurfaced during a property audit. There's a discrepancy in the asset transfer records, specifically the diner property your father owned before his death. Please contact me immediately. It concerns your legal share. My pulse quickened. I remembered that diner, our childhood home before Dad sold it to Daniel for taxes. At least, that's what I'd been told. When I met Thomas at his office, he handed me a thin folder. Your father didn't sell it, he said quietly. He placed it in a family trust, half in your name, half in Daniel's. But Daniel submitted falsified paperwork after the funeral to transfer the title fully to himself. I stared at the signature. Dad's name, shaky, uneven. Forged. It was dated 2 days after he'd passed. Thomas looked at me gently. You can press charges or reclaim your share. It's up to you. I left his office shaking. All those years of being told I had nothing, of being mocked for struggling while Daniel thrived, it had all been stolen. By evening, my lawyer had filed a petition to reopen the estate. That night, as I sat on my balcony, I imagined Daniel's face when he'd received the court notice. The man who said I didn't belong was about to watch the walls of his empire crumble, piece by piece, and legally this time. But the biggest shock wasn't the property. It was the name I saw listed under co-conspirator.
Mom.
I reread that single word, Mom, until the letters blurred. According to the documents Thomas had uncovered, my mother had co-signed the fake transfer after Dad's death. She'd claimed the diner was part of Daniel's business portfolio and not a family asset. In exchange, Daniel had been wiring her monthly consulting payments for years. It felt like being drenched in that same humiliation all over again. Not cola this time, but betrayal. I sat in my car outside her house for almost an hour before finally knocking. She opened the door, startled, robe wrapped tight. Hannah, it's late. I found the transfer papers, I said. My voice came out calm, almost foreign. Her expression flickered, guilt first, then defiance. You don't understand what your father left me with. Debts, stress, Daniel helped. By stealing? He promised he'd give you something eventually. I laughed, bitterly.
He did.
Public disgrace. She flinched, but didn't deny it. You always wanted to punish us, she hissed. You enjoy watching your family fall apart. Family? I whispered. That word means nothing if you have to buy it. She didn't follow when I turned away. The door clicked shut and for the first time it didn't hurt. Back home, I called Thomas. Proceed with everything, I said. No settlements. The next morning, Daniel's lawyer called me. Your brother wants to negotiate. I smiled faintly. Tell him I'll see him in court. When I hung up, a quiet calm settled over me, the kind that comes when the storm has finally found its target. But life has a way of circling back one last time. Because the next message that appeared on my phone wasn't from a lawyer, it was from Jenna, my sister-in-law. He's missing. For a moment, I just stared at the message. He's missing. The irony almost made me laugh. Daniel, the man who thought he owned everything, had vanished when the walls closed in. I called Jenna immediately. She sounded frantic. He didn't come home last night. His phone's off. The police found his car parked near the old diner. The diner? Our father's diner. The same one Daniel had stolen on paper. By the time I got there, the parking lot was cordoned off with yellow tape. Officers milled around, their radios crackling in the morning light. An officer recognized me. Ms. Miles? We found his briefcase inside. We believe he came here last night. The smell of dust and grease filled the air. The place hadn't changed since Dad's time. Checkered floors, faded menus, the echo of memories I'd spent years trying to forget. Daniel's notebook lay open on a counter. Inside, his handwriting, jagged and rushed. I messed up. Tell Hannah, I didn't mean to. I just wanted to make things right before it all fell apart. They found him 2 hours later, sleeping in his car by the docks, disoriented, exhausted, but alive. The investigation would continue, but something in me shifted that day. For the first time, I didn't feel anger. Just clarity. That night, I stood in the empty diner, the neon sign flickering above me. I whispered, Dad, it's over. Because it was. The lies, the favoritism, the quiet humiliation, all of it had come full circle. But there was still one final thing I had to do before closing this chapter for good. The next morning, I met with Thomas one last time and slid an envelope across his desk. Transfer it all, I said. Thomas blinked. All of it? You're sure? I nodded. Half goes to Dad's scholarship fund for trade students, the one he always dreamed of starting. The other half donated to local shelters. He studied me carefully. You don't want to keep anything? I smiled softly. I already kept what mattered, my peace. When I left his office, the city air felt lighter. The storm that had shadowed me since childhood had finally quieted. Later that evening, I returned to the diner one last time. The for lease sign was still taped crookedly on the window. I stepped inside, letting the smell of coffee and memory fill the silence. I placed a small photo of Dad and me on the counter, the one he'd kept near the register. Beneath it, I left a note. For every girl told she doesn't belong, may she build her own table. As I walked out, I noticed a message from Jenna on my phone. Daniel entered rehab. He asked me to tell you he's sorry. For once, I believed her. Maybe it wasn't redemption, but it was a start. I stood on the sidewalk, watching the sun dip behind the diner's old sign. The letters buzzed faintly, flickering one final time before going dark. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel invisible. I felt free. Not because they fell, but because I finally stopped needing their approval to stand tall. My story didn't end in revenge. It ended in release. And that, I realized, is the kind of victory no one can repossess.